Hello, everybody, and welcome to Finding Common Battlegrounds. This is the podcast where we talk about current events, but from both sides of the spectrum, from the conservative and the liberal side. So we have Ryan and I tonight. We're going to be talking about the stock market. Josh is absent. Um, we will speculate on what he was doing. I think his
But
house burned down again, but
yeah, quick shout out to Lux Bidets.
yes.
Lux Bidets. Everybody get yourself a Lux Bidet.
Get yourself.
Tom, I have a question for you. I have a
Yes.
question for you. So not to get too personal, but you're on the market right now.
Hmm.
If you found somebody who
Who
refused to
had a
use a
stinky
bidet,
butt.
yeah, would that be a deal breaker?
Who refused a bidet, who like wouldn't bidet?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a big deal. I would be suspicious. I'd be like, why? Be like, I don't brush my teeth. And be like, really? What's going on there?
There's a problem. There's a
There's a
problem.
problem.
There's a problem.
There's something in their personal life.
There you have it, people. That is like the best advertisement for Lux Bidet you can get. Tom would refuse to date somebody if they
I need
refused
to
to
put
use a
on my dating profile, like, yeah, deal breakers. Day,
bidet.
day haters. Do not
Bidet.
swipe.
Do not swipe. What? S swipe? S
Yeah,
swipe.
right,
There we
right.
go.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
All right.
Josh was supposed to join us tonight and he canceled last minute. Wouldn't tell us exactly why, only that his plans changed, according to his wife. So, since we did this to Tom, it's our turn to do this to Josh. Tom, what do you think Josh is doing right now instead of being on the podcast?
Yeah, I think it was like he smelled smoke and went into like epileptic shock, right? It was like, the house is burning. Ah! Freaked out. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not a new house fire, but he thought it was a new house fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little scare. He's
Knowing
changing
my
he's changing batteries on the
on all
smoke
the smoke
detectors right
detectors in
now.
the house. Knowing Josh, I'm gonna go with he bailed on us to play video games.
Mm, some
Yeah.
new video game released.
Yeah, he found a new video game and he was like, "Oh yeah, no, my wife said change of
Him and his wife
plans."
went to the Minecraft movie.
What is it called? Chicken
Chicken
jockey? Chicken
jockey.
jockey. Have you seen
And like
it?
she's up on his shoulders and he's like,
Did you go see it? Have you seen the new movie?
no,
No.
but my kids have told me all about the,
Yeah. My son went to
the
see it.
craziness.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, maybe we'll speculate again at the end where we think Josh is. But so, there's been some changes in the stock market. Tom, you wanna bring us up to speed on what's going on? It is April 14th when we're recording this. What's the latest?
Yeah, stock market has well, it's so a bear market is 20% down on the market. So
Right.
20% or more. And we did enter a bear market. Um
Briefly.
yes, for a little bit. But like so some of the stats were it was one of the fastest declines ever of like that it just dropped faster than like because a lot of times you talk about crashes and crashes are actually happen like the dot-com crash happened over a period of like 2.5 years like and it
It was
went
a
down significantly
slow
but it was
death.
just kind of
Yeah.
like up and down and up and down and up and down, right? Whereas this was like it just really
It was like
dropped fast.
3%, 3%, 9%,
Yes.
3%, right? So it just kept going down and it's gone back up a little bit since then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely been some fluctuations in the market over the last two-ish weeks.
You.
Yeah. Uh, pretty substantial swings. And everything that I'm reading is attributing this to tariffs.
All right. So right now it's 10.7 or 10.8%, 10.8%. It
Off of its
was,
peak.
yeah, at what
Okay.
point it was 21.2%. So,
Off its
yeah.
peak.
So
Yeah.
like you said, briefly entered a bear market.
Yeah.
But um sorry, no, it ended the day at 11.7. So about almost 12% down right now.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, and the
Okay.
peak was February 22nd. So within a period of less than 2 months.
Yeah. Um, so let's talk about what's causing this.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming we're going to get to whether we think this is a good thing or a bad thing. So there's the is, then there's the
Right.
ought, right? So what
Right.
happened? Why did it happen? And then is this a good thing or a bad thing? So
Yes.
what's your take on what's going on here, Tom? What's driving all of this market volatility? Let's call it market volatility.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. Okay, yeah, I got a lot of opinions on this, and I've briefly said some of them before, but um, so to put it in like in a nutshell, so I've seen the headlines like and posts from social media people like Trump is destroying the country and my 401k, right, and people's retirements and et cetera, et cetera, and like Trump's, and when I say that, I'm saying because he's enacting these tariffs, right? He's like
Hmm.
threatening tariffs and he's turning on tariffs of countries and just throwing things around. And like, so here's the funny thing. I would say that is a true statement, but
Hmm.
also it's a nuanced statement. And so the thing I was explaining to somebody the other day was, um, so like if we look at like risks in the market, so like there's an inversion of the yield curves, right? So this is like it's a basically of the bond market is um
Yield rates are going up.
warning of risk. So,
Yeah.
but this is an inversion of the 2 and the 10 year, et cetera. And so they're warning of upcoming risk. And so like so like we say stock market is really big. It's this $1 trillion market. The bond market is much, much bigger and it has much, much more money. And they say that's smart money, right? And stock market's stupid money because it's much more up and down and
It's
overreacts and things
volatile.
like that.
Yeah.
And so, so the back in 2019, so it was 3 months before. So it was December of 2019. It came out of inversion. So the bond market briefly inverted, and and then in March of 2020, we had COVID.
Pandemic.
The
Yeah.
market dropped rapidly,
Yes.
extremely fast, and then recovered really fast. But so there's the argument of like, did the bond market predict COVID? No, it didn't predict COVID. It's basically saying things are not healthy and
Hmm.
something could break it. And that something is usually what we call a black swan, right? Something's going to happen and we don't know what it is, but it's going to hurt the economy. And so it's like, eh, so the bond market inverted. So the average recession is 6 months after a bond market, the bond yields uninvert. And so, and that happened 6 months ago in October. So we're at 6 months. So like basically right now, just over 6 months now. So like we're right on schedule for something bad to happen. And it did happen basically in February, stuff started going down. And then like March, it really started going down. So like right on schedule, tariffs, and everyone's like, "Bleh!" And like the market starts going down, and everyone's freaking out. And so it's like, did Trump cause it? Yes. Was that like, are we really lost a trillion, what is it? They said something like trillions of
Several
dollars
trillion
of
dollars. Yeah.
value because of this, solely because of this? No, it's like, no, there's lots of issues, and this is the trigger, right? The catalyst, but like something, if it wasn't this, it would have been something else, is what I would say. So that's my sort of my counter argument to that it's all Trump's fault.
Interesting. So let me summarize your position just to make sure I've got it clear. That the market was ripe for a correction,
Yes.
basically, which we had talked about. Actually, we had
Yeah.
talked about, right? 9 months ago, something like that, when I was getting a little nervous about the market as well. Um, so the market was ripe for a correction. It needed a trigger, right? It needed a
Yeah.
precipitating event. That precipitating event was clearly, because it happened the day he did it, right?
Right.
Was the tariffs that Trump put
Mhm.
on every country around the world,
Right.
including one that only has
You get a
penguins,
tariff,
right?
and you get a tariff, and
Yes.
you get a tariff.
um, so I do want to talk about kind of the follow-up uptick because I think there's some market manipulation potentially going on. But I'm not necessarily going to disagree with you. I mean, we had talked about this, that we thought the market was ripe for a correction, and a correction is a 10% shift, right? So
Right.
that they would call that, I mein, again, this, I'm not an expert. Neither of us are experts, so don't take anything we're saying as like
Not
investment
financial
advice.
advice.
We do have money in the market, but that's because this is like, when you have a little extra money, what are you going to do with it? So I think I would generally agree with you. Clearly, his tariffs were the precipitating event. The market was ripe for a correction. A 20% correction was big, right?
Yeah.
And it's now shifted, so it's not quite 20%. Okay, so I think we're probably on common ground at this point, but I do have a follow-up question for you that
Yes.
I'm really intrigued by. Um, Within a couple of days of these tariffs going into effect, Trump backtracked, right?
Yes.
And he said,
Yeah.
"No, I'm pausing everything for 90 days." And I didn't know this because I don't follow him on social media. I really don't care, right? Like I try to avoid everything that the guy says because he's a lunatic. But he did say the morning before he rescinded those tariffs or delayed them for 90 days, now would be a good time to buy DJT, right? And
Okay.
then a
Okay.
couple of hours later, he delayed all the tariffs.
Okay. Right.
Does that make sense? Right.
Right.
So that sounds an awful lot like market manipulation,
Like way
insider
too good.
trading. Like, can you imagine if, well, we don't even have to imagine. Can you imagine if Martha Stewart did something like that? Right? Like,
Right.
what would they do to Martha Stewart if she had
What could
insider knowledge of what was going to happen?
what could you do? Yeah. Yes.
Maybe put her
What?
in jail because
Right.
that's what they did, right?
Yes.
Um, what's your take on that? Do you think this was effectively a form of insider trading, that he was manipulating the market and arguably people made a lot of money off of what he did?
Okay. Well, I'll say a few things. There's a few things
Yeah.
here. One of the largest trades ever was placed right before the announcement, right? So like ever, like largest trade ever. And they call it dark pools. They're done through like these European units or these European pools. And so you can't, it's so they can hide who they are. They can place these things anonymously. And they do it all the time. So it happens all the time. And a lot of times they can affect, right? They're like buying a dip or something like that. And so yes, so like probably someone knew that something was going to come out, right? And but like with flip side is what's his name? Warren Buffett. His
Hmm.
one of his famous sayings is buy when there's blood in the streets. He's like that's when you should be buying when people are fearful and be selling when people are
Or
greedy.
euphoric. Yeah.
Yeah, and the market was clearly there was clearly blood in the streets and people were fearful. Like we were like extreme fear in the market. So like, should you have been buying? Absolutely, right? Like if you were a savvy, like the market has always gone up eventually, and so no matter what, you will get that money back. It always has. It most likely always will, right? And so it's like it will recover, and there's a good chance like they've show stats on it. Like when the market drops a significant amount, it's like within a year, it's almost always positive, right? Like almost always. So it's like, so it really is a good time to buy, right? And it's like because people are losing their minds, are overreacting, yes. So it's like, yeah, and but like, yeah. Like DJT, like what the crap, right? Like, don't be talking about your stock. Um, like
I mean,
with
is that
that said,
criminal? Come on, is that criminal?
uh, in, to say that like things are gonna like yeah, promoting your stock is that's that you have ownership in, right? Is like not
Right
good.
before you rescind tariffs that
If we're gonna do
tanked the
something,
stock market?
right, yeah, yeah. It's like market manipulation, possibly, right? Yes. But I mean, like we also have lots of like, there's a whole thing about there's the Nancy Pelosi trade. You've probably heard about that, right? Where people just follow her trades because the problem is they're on a delay. She doesn't have to release until every quarter. So then you see everything.
Mm.
So you're like delayed, but like you're following her stuff and you're like, oh, she looks like she just picked up a whole bunch of Nvidia. Let's pick some of that up too, right? It's like, so people know things and they're making money off of it. And when she was asked about it, like, should Congress not be trading? She was like, it's free market, and you're just like, okay. Clearly, yeah, I'm sure there's people doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. But
Interesting. Okay. Um, I'd hate to say we're done. That was like 15 minutes. So,
well, okay,
so what
here's
are
a few
your
things.
other thoughts on this? Because it sounds like you have a bunch of thoughts.
Yeah, well, okay, so first off, the market is going so we 10% in a day in the S&P, one of the top 10 days ever in the market.
You mean
It's
the drop or the rebound?
so the swing, the rebound.
Yeah. It was like a
Yeah,
9% gain.
we okay, yeah. Let's see. From the day, so from the day before, it was like 10 and a half, just about, oh, just over 10. But like from where it started lower though. So its full swing was 11% in the day. A good day on the S&P, like a crazy wild day, is 2%. Like
Hmm.
this was an insane day. And so it makes the top 10 days ever in the market. But if you look at the stats around the top 10 days, like two of them are in 2008, two of them are in 2000, like one of them's like 1987, one's in 2020. It's like they're not in good company, right? Like what it's saying is we probably have some more downside, right? Like this is what happens in these markets, is like this craziness.
So you
We're
think we're headed towards a recession?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. The bond markets, the inversion, the yield curve inversion is never wrong, right? And so it's like this is what's weird to me is like a month ago, everyone's like recession. No, there's no recession. Blah, blah. And everyone's all, oh, what? Now everyone's updating their forecasts and their probabilities, and you're just like, yeah, I could have told you. Like anyone who like just look at the chart of the two and 10 year, and you're like, yeah, it's coming. We're about on schedule, right? It's like it should be surprising nobody, but everyone's like, "Whoa, whoa!" It's like big surprise. Everyone's updating their projections of the S&P downward, right? Like, okay, we think we're gonna have less growth or maybe no growth at all, right, this year, and just like big surprise. Everyone's just shocked, right, by this news. So this is like, what? Absolutely, it's going down. But so one of the interesting things, though, is there was an interview by Ray Dalio. I don't know if you know.
Heard the name. I don't really know who he
Yeah,
is,
he's
but
a
yeah.
hedge fund manager, and I can't remember the name of his hedge. But he's been talking about this a little while. But he says he's afraid we're heading for something much worse than a recession, and what he's talking about is this is a current a sovereign debt crisis. Basically, he's saying the end of the dollar as the reserve currency, right? That's what he's worried about, and so one of the things we're seeing is like a big sell-off in the bond market, and like that's China dumping U.S. Treasuries, um,
Hmm.
and just people freaking out. Now, like this has been talked about for a while because we've been like printing all this debt, right? And it's like
Right.
that he's saying we're gonna have a demand problem for our debt, basically, right? And so yields going up are people saying they don't want to buy U.S. Treasuries, right? Is basically what that's kind of saying. And
So we
so,
basically have to pay more in
right,
interest in order to get
to
people to
get
take
people
our
to
debt.
buy. Yes, exactly, right. And so like I was on the way here and I was like I'd heard this before and I was trying to like word it correctly, but like I love this. Someone brought this up one time, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, yeah." They were saying so the U.S. currency is no long isn't backed by gold, right?
No,
We
right.
we left
It's
the
not
gold
backed by
standard in the
anything. Yeah.
70s, and so it's fiat currency, which means by declaration, right? So it's
Hmm.
currency by declaration. It's currency because we say it's currency, right?
Right.
And the U.S. dollar is it's the world reserve currency because that's what a lot of people trade in, right? Within
Hmm.
petrodollars and everything like that. But like someone brought this up and I was like the biggest, funniest thing. It was like, so basically it's in demand because it's in demand, right? It's
Just a tautology. That's always fun. Yeah.
right, which is like people are trading in it and it's like so because you're trading it, I need it to trade with you. And like, but you're like, but there's something else that's in demand only because it's in demand. And Do you know what that is? Like a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah. The
that's
only
true.
reason people are buying in is because people are buying in, right? And it's like, and the only reasons that's going up in value is because people are buying in, and so it's like,
So when
and
people stop buying in, what happens in a
yeah,
Ponzi scheme?
well, right, and
Everything
like,
crashes. Yeah.
well, you and the other thing with a Ponzi scheme is there's actually nothing of value, right? It's
Right.
always some weird thing that you're buying that actually doesn't mean anything, and no one's buying that. They're buying it because it's going, because it's going up. It's tulips
Sure.
or whatever, right?
Yes.
And like money's, I mean, the US dollar isn't worth, you can't trade it for gold. It's nothing. It's like just popular because it's popular, right? And so as soon as like someone's like, hey, right? So they said in the Tulip Festival, they said there was it was going crazy. It was going the tulip bubble back in the
Hmm.
Dutch days, and I can't remember the year, 17 something, and there was everyone was buying tulip bulbs for a crazy amount, and they said it was like one day a guy went to like sell his bulb and the buyer didn't show up, and it was like, and then
That's
it was just
over.
like, yeah, it was just like over, right? And it's like it's that day that like all of a sudden someone's like, no, I think I'm okay, right? And then it's like, right, domino effect, right? And it was like, have we hit that day? I don't know, right? But it's like, because I mean, we'll keep increasing the amount, making it more enticing, but I think there's just gonna be a day where someone's gonna be like, I don't know, I don't think it's worth it, right? And there's like, boom. And so he's just saying, yeah, this would be that would be a huge deal, especially for the
Hmm.
US, right?
Oh, yeah.
To lose the reserve currency status. And he's worried about, I think I think there's a good possibility that that is going to happen, not tomorrow, but like the things are in place for this to happen, and this we're seeing the beginnings. Like there's gonna be, we'll recover, and then it'll get worse, and it'll recover, and it'll get worse, and I think we're on that road. I think it's just inevitable.
Um, Not to bring in Doge or anything like that, right? But I was reading an article today um, that Elon Musk's Doge, and this will come back to the reserve currency, right? Because
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
where I'm getting. He had claimed he was going to cut $1 trillion out of the federal budget. He's not
yeah,
going to get anywhere close to that. He's claiming now that he's going to get 15% of that, about $150 billion, and that's probably still an exaggeration. But the analysis that they were looking at said he was never going to be able to cut $1 trillion because the area that he was given was basically like spending that we could cut, right?
right,
Because we have other stuff that like is just mandated, like you can't even cut into
right.
it, and he was not
Can't
allowed
touch
to
it.
do that. And the
Hmm.
stuff that he was allowed to start trying to cut only totals $950 billion. So
Like
he
so, couldn't
never,
have
yeah, so it
unless he
never
cuts
could have happened.
100% of everything. We would have
Yes.
gotten close.
Yes, he would have gotten close. So he
Right.
couldn't do it. But in the discussion, they said um, our actual interest payments on our debt is more than that. It's over $1 trillion a year that the
Right.
US pays in
Yes.
interest on our
Right.
debt, right? And I
Yes.
was like, oh my gosh, we are so broke. This is
Oh,
so
we are
bad.
so screwed.
Yes.
Yeah. And like,
But what do we do, Tom? What do we do?
well,
Like, my wife is talking about trying to buy euros and crap. And I'm like, I don't know that that's the right approach. I mean, we're going to lose
right.
money in the exchange. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So,
Well, that's why gold is trading at an all-time high, right? Or close to it. It's been skyrocketing, right? It's like almost 3,000 or beyond 3,000 an ounce. I can't remember, but that like it's never touched that before. And so $3,000 for an ounce, right? It's just like wild. And like so people talk about that, right? That's what you buy. They say that's the commodity for war, is like because you're making a bet. It's a neutral bet of like we don't know who's gonna win. Like things are gonna change. The winds of change are coming. We don't know who's gonna be the winner. So we're gonna put in gold because that's the like, the neutral thing. So yeah, it's a lot. You're not the only one who's asking that same question of like, where does this go? Uh, what was I gonna say? But like, yeah. Oh yeah, no. The other thing I was gonna add to that was, and Congress passed a spending bill and they increased the spending, right? And it's like everything Doge is doing, they're just increasing
yeah.
again, which they've always done
Hmm.
and continue to do. And both Democrats and Republicans, and like,
Yeah.
and we've had moments, right, where we like made a dent in it and then we went right back to what we're doing. It's just like it's, you know, It's
Yeah,
crazy.
I did find that funny. So Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, was struggling to get they haven't actually written the bill, which I thought was
Mm-hmm.
weird, right? This is like the
Mm-hmm.
outline of the bill. But he
Right.
couldn't get some of the most conservative members of his own party on board with
Yeah.
it because they
Right.
weren't making enough cuts to the debt,
Right.
right? So they were actually like, no, we want you to cut from the debt. And I keep
Yeah.
hearing these stories that right now they're thinking about, and this is both the House and the Senate, they're thinking about how they can basically pretend that the tax cuts aren't going to add to the debt, instead of admitting that they're going to add to our national debt, right?
Right.
They're going to basically say, well, they're already in place. And because they're already in place, that doesn't actually count as adding to the debt. So we can just pretend like it doesn't add to the debt. And then we're going to say we didn't add to the debt. And I'm like,
Doing it.
this
Right.
is insanity, right?
Right.
They're literally like, we're going to spend all the money. We're not going to cut any debt, but we're going to say that we did.
Right.
I'm like,
Right.
you guys are ridiculous. This makes no sense.
The Treasury Secretary Bessent,
Mm-hmm.
I think,
Yeah.
and I actually like a lot of the things he said. But like the big thing he says is like we don't have a an earning problem, right? We don't have a tax and revenue problem. We have a spending problem, right? And he's like, so it's like it's and so he goes on about because we're like it's 5 trillion I think is what
Something
we're
like
our
that.
income is and our expenditures are 7 trillion, so we're like 2 trillion is what we're like putting away in debt every year, adding to the deficit. So like I admire what Doge wants to do, right? If they could get this 2 trillion down, if they could knock
Sure.
2 trillion off, right, and work on it for the next few years and get there, we might be good. Now, like, so here's the idea and the plan and the thought was like we like we talked about. I think we talked about this before of like Trump trying to tank the economy to get the Fed funds to get the Fed to lower the interest rate so that the debt goes down. Our servicing on the debt is more manageable and the economy bounces back, right? And like, so he's intentionally trying to tank the economy fast so that it doesn't go over a period of a year, right? A year into his presidency, right? He just like get it over with. Let's get this out of the way so we can get the interest rates low. We start booming again. And that gives us time to cut, right? Theoretically. Like that would be it's not going to go that well, but like that's the idea. And I like actually like it makes sense, but
It's
yeah,
pretty sophisticated logic, and I maybe the people around Trump could figure that out. I don't think he could. Um,
I
yeah,
no, I don't think it's even that complicated because like he's been talking about it for a while. He's like he needs to lower the interest rate, and you have Jerome Powell, who's the president of the Fed, and the Fed's like we're not bringing down the interest rates unless labor goes bad, right? And
right.
like
And they're still
unemployment
worried
goes
about
up.
inflation, right? They're still worried about
And I like
inflation.
because Trump's to me like Trump's like hold my beer, man, hold my beer. I'll take care of this unemployment crap. The cut, dude, Elon, get over
Yeah.
here. Cut. I need some
We'll fire
unemployed
eighty
people.
thousand people in 3 months. Um,
Totally.
it was pretty fascinating, right? So he just delayed the tariffs for 90
Mhm.
days, and somebody
Yeah.
pointed out he's only actually been in office for 82 days. So
Mhm.
everything that's happened has happened in 82 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has been a wild ride. Um,
Yes.
yeah, it's been a crazy ride. The other thing that I saw, Doge, not again, I'm trying not to bring this is all about debt and like stock market stuff. Doge actually found a bunch of wasteful spending in the military, and the military's budget is sizable enough that that could make a bit of a
Make a
dent into
difference.
our
Mhm.
spending. So, Doge told Pete Hegseth, right, the
Mm.
moron in charge of the
Mhm.
military, and Pete Hegseth was like, "Oh, thanks. We're just going to reallocate that somewhere else." So they didn't actually
Oh,
cut
right, right.
spending. They're just like, "We're going to spend it on something else." And the military, this is the crazy part, they're literally saying, "Please cut our spending. Please cut our budget. We have wasteful spending. Like we're
Yes.
willing to take the hit." And
Well,
right now, Trump wants to increase spending for the military.
I mean, Peter, him reallocating funds is basically his way of saying we're going to reduce waste, right? Because we're going to make it more efficient, but we need to be bringing down the spending,
Yes.
right?
Like, how about we
Like,
just don't spend that money and we put
yeah,
it towards our debt, right? How about we do
right.
something, right? We reallocate it somewhere else instead of like, oh, well, let's just buy 10 more of those fighter jets, right? Like we're not cutting in the areas where we maybe need to. And
But
yeah, I mean,
are you okay? So like, I know because we talked a little bit about this before, but like, I can't like, can you agree that this is we are kind of walking into a crisis, and
yeah,
that we
as far as our
need
national debt, 100%.
yeah,
Yes.
and that um so a lot of the criticism that I've received, like I've seen posts about and or people talked about with Doge is like the aggressiveness of it, and then like kind of it's not nice. It's very cold story, like, hey, you're all fired. See you later. Oh, we're gonna bring you five back, right? And like it's and I don't even have any problem with that. Like that's just we're just it's they talk about like how do you find out if the phone numbers are working, like all these phone lines at a company, and are we really
Mhm.
using them? The fastest way is you turn them all off, right? And then someone goes, hey, my phone, and you turn that one back on, and then you're like, okay, that's how we figured it out.
Everybody else, we're good. Yeah.
Right. Like, and so it's like, so I don't even have any problem like this aggressive firing. Like, do you agree we should be very aggressive with this cutting and reduction of like this seeking out fraud and waste and um basically what Doge has been doing.
Well, okay. So I'm going to come back to what I said earlier. Doge, like I'm not opposed to any of the cutting of waste, right? Like absolutely, let's get rid of waste. 100%. I have no problems with getting rid of waste. But Doge's mission, right, to cut $1 trillion was never possible. It
Right.
was always a pipe dream. And if we've got a deficit of $2 trillion every year, even
Hmm.
cutting $1 trillion out, which was
Right.
never going to happen, is only half of what we need to cut, right?
Right. Right.
Or the alternative is we have to increase revenue. Like,
Right.
come on, this is basic math, right? Like
Right.
a 5-year-old should be able to figure out if I've got to balance how much money I have, there are two ways to do this: more
Hmm.
money or spend less, right? Like there are only
Right.
two options here. So, and we can debate about like whether we need to raise more money or whether we can cut other things. Like
Right.
that's fine, we can debate it. Doge was never going to succeed at getting rid of our deficit. Given
Yeah.
its purview,
Well,
it was never going to happen.
the alternative is like we're screwed, right?
Well, yes, but we're still screwed, right? So Doge caused a lot of pain and suffering, which again, if they actually got rid of any waste, I'm totally cool with that. But they
Right.
caused a lot of pain and suffering shuffling the deck chairs around on the Titanic that is still sinking because
Right.
they cut $150 billion best case scenario. In all likelihood, it's not even that.
Right.
I mean, it's something, but
But
it's
right.
not even
Well,
10% of what we would need to cut to get to a balanced budget.
right. And but like that is what we should they should be allowed to
Sure.
cut 2 trillion and they should be aggressive with it. Like
Well, the only way you're going to cut $2 trillion is if you start cutting like Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, Medicaid benefits. And that, I
part of
mean, one, that's political
well,
suicide, but two, those are the most kind of vulnerable people in our society who would start losing benefits.
yeah, I would say yes and no. One, I do believe there's a lot of fraud and waste that's going on that like, that's giving stuff to dead people, things like that. But there's also like they talk about how we give Social Security to boomers who are actually probably don't need it, right? They're
If
if they're
they've got the money that they don't need it, then yeah,
right.
take it
It should be
away.
like,
I
hey,
would be
you're
fine with
making more than
that.
100,000 a year in retirement. We can cut yours, right? It's
Yeah,
like
I'd be
these
fine with
kinds of
that.
things, right?
Sure.
And I definitely think I am of the mind that we can maintain every service that we have right now on a fraction of the budget. I am 100% convinced. And like there's not like, oh, well, this we're gonna have to sacrifice this or this. It's about efficiencies and incentives. And like we could 100% do it. It's just a matter of if we have the stomach for it. And like just the fact of the reaction from the public, and about the way that Doge has gone about stuff. it's like, no, I don't think we have the stomach, so we're effed, right? Like we're screwed. Um,
Uh, yes. Let's flip this around though. So I know this is all supposed to be about the stock market, and I think we'll come back to that because part of the logic that Trump has given for the tariffs, which did tank the stock market, even though it was ripe for a correction, was that the US was going to be flush with cash, right? We were going to be charging these tariffs on all these other countries,
oh, it's
and
gonna
that
be a
was
new
going
form
to,
of revenue,
yes,
right?
right.
Right.
Do you buy that for a second, Tom?
No, no.
I
Um,
appreciate the honesty. Do you want to explain to our listeners why you don't buy that?
well, okay, so I honestly, okay, I don't think Trump's stupid. Like, I think I don't think he ever intends to implement these tariffs. I don't think they're ever going to come back. They're just his stick that he gets to beat everybody up with, right? And like there's reciprocal tariffs, right? People are like giving tariffs on us. I agree. Like that they're getting it one they're screwing America and they have been for years. And like what is something like we're the only G20 nation that doesn't produce its own steel, like exports its own steel, like things like this, right? Like because everyone's tariffing the crap out of us, and so no one buys it, and so we don't do it. And it's like what this is that's a problem. And like to get Europe to do reciprocal tariffs or to do zero tariffs, right? To agree to that, that's a win, right? But like one, I think he wants to cause chaos, and two, it's his stick that he's like throwing it up and then putting it back. And like what did he do with the guy Guatemala who wouldn't take the refuge,
Oh, that
the
was Colombia. In
Colombia wouldn't
Colombia,
take the immigrants, and then he's like, well, I'm gonna do this, right? And then they like give in, and like, was he gonna do it? I don't know, right? But he's like all sorts of threats, right? Like his
right.
parent, like we're getting rid of Christmas, and like, okay, we're not getting rid of Christmas, right? But no, the other, sorry, I was to go back to what we were talking about though. Lowering the interest rate would make a significant reduction in the amount that of money we are servicing on the debt, and so. I don't know what the amount is. Like if they dropped it to zero tomorrow, right? The Feds did,
Hmm.
it would have a significant, and I don't know, it's, going to be hundreds of billions, but I just don't know how many. So that actually would help us. Like if he can cause a crisis, the Fed fund rates go down, that's going to give us breathing room, right? To like they'll drastically reduce the amount that we're our deficit, which will help us. But like the issue is, will we do it, right? Will we go through with it? And it's like Congress isn't on board,
No,
right? And they're like, well, we'll just increase, we got to stuff, right? And he's fighting with his own bureaucracy.
we
Like
we, we want tax
Heg's like, well, we're
cuts.
just gonna
Right,
move this money over here. And you're like,
right.
no, we have to cut. And like we can't afford it. And it's like
Uh,
people are
yeah.
talking about like research programs and like these research programs are good. And you're like, yes, they're great. Let Argentina do it. We can't afford it. We can't afford anything. It's
Okay,
like,
so I think we're generally on the same page. Like the national debt is a crisis. Like it's genuinely a crisis. I don't say that. I hate saying things are a crisis when they're not, but we're at 30 plus trillion dollars in debt. We don't bring anywhere close to that in every year in terms of revenue. It's going to take us decades, if not centuries, to pay it off, assuming we actually started tomorrow, right?
yeah,
So we're in serious trouble.
yes.
Let's just flip that, right? And I know we're supposed to be talking about the stock market, but let's just flip it for a second. Um, how would you convince the House and the Senate to actually do something about our debt?
Well, I'm upset. Like, what bothers me is why Trump's not vocal about getting, because he seems to be able to get the party, the Republicans in line.
Yeah,
And
but I
so,
don't think
like,
he cares about our debt.
well, that's why I'm like, I thought it was weird that he's not like, okay, we guys pass a spending budget and it has to be like a
Balanced.
balanced budget amendment or something like that, right? And it's like,
Yeah,
we have to do this. And I'm surprised that like he's not for what, and that's why I think his whole thing is about wrecking the economy, right? As opposed to like getting us, because if he can get the interest rate down, it will be down for the majority of his, um, more than likely
for
he's
his
happy.
term.
He's happy doing the Biden thing, which is like drop the rate and enjoy 4 years of inflation, which is like a slow, painful thing, but like not. a crisis, like not a recession, right? And I think that's what he wants, right? He's like, oh man, we had that rough patch, and now it will just grow, 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 right? And look, everyone's making more money every year. And you're like, yeah, but everything's going up, right? They talk about like if you have to do, what's the word? A country has to do, where they have to be more tight with their money.
Oh, austerity measures.
Austerity,
Yeah.
yeah. That if they have a choice, they will choose inflation, right? If they can
Mm.
print, they will print, right? And the U.S. can print, so we will print. We'll always print. Like when they're given a choice, they will always print. This is so much easier. It's not political suicide. Austerity
So
is
yeah.
political suicide.
So you don't, and here's the crazy thing, right? Like, what makes this so crazy? Trump doesn't care about the debt. I don't think he ever has.
Right.
The vast majority of Democrats and Republicans don't seem to care about it. Only the most conservative Republicans seem to care about
Yeah.
the debt,
Right.
which is
Right.
super odd because I definitely wouldn't put myself in that camp, but I
Right.
care about it. So, like,
But we care about
here,
right.
yes,
Yeah.
like I agree with these radical Republicans in the
Yeah.
House who are like, hey, we really should probably solve this serious problem that is going to destroy our
Well,
country.
guys, we're sick of this getting kicked down the road. We want to deal with it now, and so and so we're going to sabotage the spending bill because we want this thing in there, right? And everyone's like,
Right.
you're slowing progress, right? And it's like, they're like, no, we
Uh,
can't keep doing this, right? And honestly, I think if you broke it down for most Americans, I think they'd be in that camp. But like, we always throw weird stuff like we gotta get this done, and so we're gonna delay the spending limit for a while because we don't want to shut down the government, right? It's kind of like this always happens, right? Like we only have hours before the government shuts down, so let's just not worry about it right now, right? It's like yeah,
could you run a company that way, Tom?
no, absolutely not, absolutely not. It's yeah. So did you um okay, so a couple of things. W the debt. So, but just to tie it back to the stock market,
Yeah.
we are absolutely going, the market's going to go up. Absolutely
Right now
100%
or later?
later. It will.
Okay,
So,
because
like,
we're
whatever you
headed, you
buy,
were saying we're headed for a recession right now.
yes, short term, but it will recover and it will recover with a vengeance. Because all this, everything we're talking about points to hyperinflation, right? Hyperinflation means assets go up more and stocks are assets, right? So it's like they're and that's why the market's always gone up, right? If you look at the market, it's always just kind of like this, and it's always gone up because of inflation, not because the companies are getting more valuable, right? It's inflation, and so it's anyway. So like that's gonna go up, and it's probably gonna go up a lot, and like and I'm saying like over the next 5 to 10 years. So the good news, that's the good news. It's not good, but um,
Okay, but what happens when the US government can't pay its debt?
yeah, that's a big we in essence, we become much poorer, right? Our dollars are no longer they become worth a lot less because the demand for them goes significantly down,
Right,
right?
because the US government has a bond rating, right? So all of
Mhm.
these, different groups, they assess what they think the probability is of these companies being able to pay back their loans, their debt, right? And if the US defaults on its debt, what happens to the stock market, right? My guess is if when we get to that point, because I think
Yeah.
it's probably a when, not an if, that's going to tank the stock market. Like we
Yeah.
we thought this 20% drop over a week period was a big deal. I'm gonna guess that's like a much bigger drop.
That's like Armageddon. Like
Yes.
that's like destruction of the system of like our monetary system. If we actually defaulted, like people will be losing their minds and like the market will completely go crazy.
It
So,
will implode. It will be done.
yes. Uh, yeah, I don't know, but like at least and they come up with some fix or something like that shortly after, but like it will take a massive hit, right? If the day that happens, like that would be a huge deal.
Okay.
Um,
And
but
then
like,
what do we do? So let's say we default. We say we can't pay this.
right.
Then what happens?
So there'll always be a flea to this is what always happens, right? Is like there'll be a different currency that everyone's trying to get into, right? There's going to be replaced by something else. And so there'll be a flight to that, you know. And then like the dollar goes into hyperinflation and then something and then like it could be anything, right? It's like Argentina is doing a dollarization. They're trying to get on our dollar because theirs is so bad,
Right.
right? They're trying to get on something more stable. So it's like that could be it, right? And you're so that it, but it'll probably be some flight to some other
Currency.
something stable, right? Something that's more stable. Um,
Bitcoin? Was this an advertisement for crypto this
people
whole time?
I haven't said anything about crypto, but that's a big theory that a lot of people think because like you're like, okay, well, what is it? So Ray Dalio throws out the idea that it's going to be he's kind of like thrown out that it's like China's going to be the next world reserve currency, but China's got a lot of issues, right?
Oh
It's like
yeah. The
they've got
real
huge
estate
issues.
market is a
I think
disaster.
he has a lot of investments there, and so I think he kind of wrote that into his whole like thesis,
Spiel.
but I don't know if he actually believes that. So
I
that's
mean, if you wanted to go with a relatively safe currency today, wouldn't your best bet be something like the euro?
I don't know, maybe like
Well, and the only reason I say that is because it's a lot of economies, right? It's not just one economy. Because you couldn't go with like
right,
the British pound, right? The British
right,
pound is just one country. Same with
right.
like the Norwegian kroner or the Swedish kroner or
Hmm.
what do they have in Switzerland? I forget the name of the currency, right? But all of those
Yeah,
are like an individual economy.
correct.
The euro is tied to the 26, 27 member states or whatever. Um, and they seem cautious, right? A little bit more cautious than we are here in the US.
Certainly,
Um,
probably it's safer, right,
right.
than another than just some single country, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I have no idea. But
Yeah.
yes, a lot of people are like, that's their prediction is like this is what Bitcoin was made for, was like this thing, because it is stable and it's based on algorithms and rules and theoretically cannot be manipulated, right? So, um,
This is all one big advertisement for crypto. I am so sorry to our listeners. I am not advocating that anybody buy crypto,
but like,
especially
okay.
not meme coins. If you're going to buy anything, maybe buy Bitcoin, but like meme coins, like don't do that. That's trash. You're going to waste your
I
money.
there was one other thing I want to say about this like how crazy retarded this whole system is. Did you read anything about the 14 magic money making computers? Elon talked about this that they found at the Treasury.
What?
It
No.
yeah, there was several art like it got thrown around articles. He's like these 14 these magic um uh computers that print money and you're like and I like didn't understand it, and I finally like dug into it. I'm like, what is he talking about? Because I like printing money. We print money all the time. That's what we do, right? And
Sure.
like so, I figured out I like watched an in-depth thing on it and then read about it, and it's really interesting. So the Fed, the Federal Reserve, is an independent body
Yes.
from
The
like the
government, from
U.S.
the federal
government,
government.
right?
Yes.
So when the U.S. government needs a lot of money, they don't print money. They issue treasuries, bonds, which are
Sure.
and U.S.
It's
bonds
debt.
are U.S. treasuries. And if the Fed really wants to put some liquidity in the system, they buy those U.S. treasuries. So they'll buy a bunch and they put all this money like into the system, and so they're buying up these assets and just flooding the money or sorry, flooding the market with money. And so
Right.
like that's how, and so U.S. Treasury is not supposed to print their own money. So there's like this relationship. We're like, well, see, we're not like doing so. And the the Fed is like it's called the central bank. And
Yep.
so any purchase you make anywhere goes through some bank somewhere. Every credit card is linked to a bank, and that bank reconciles with the other banks, and they all reconcile with the Fed. So like that's the banking system, right? It's the U.S. banking
Yep.
system, the world, and everything goes through the like the like the world has to, if they're going to use dollars, it has to go through that banking system. Blah 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 blah. So what they're saying is at the Treasury, they found 14 computers that are making payments to people, and they're making payments and they're not part of the Fed. They're just issuing money and they're just putting money out into the system that's not reconciled with any banks. They're just
What?
creating it. They're creating inflation. Like they're just adding inflation out. They're just issuing more money out. They're just like, approve this payment. All right, you got some money. And like this money is just coming out of thin air because it's not, we're like, well, which bank did that come from? It didn't. It came from the US Treasury. There you go, buddy. And like that's what he's talking about. Like this is the kind of craziness that's happening at in within
Are
our
you
government.
sure? This
Yeah,
sounds
it sounds
borderline conspiracy theory stuff.
well, but well, okay, but like it completely makes sense. How he explained it makes 100% sense, right? Like, okay, that makes like, and that's why you call it the magic money computer. You're like, okay, yeah, I see it. Because like I was like, what is he talking about? Because the Fed prints money all the time. Like, what are you talking about? But like, yeah, it's making new money that's like not even part of what the Fed's controlling, and it's just, which is just diluting the dollars, right? It's just giving some people some money and diluting our dollars. And so it's like that's the kind of craziness we have going on in our government. And like that's it's insane. Like we're it's there's so so much craziness happening within our government. Like it's I have some faith in Doge that like they might be able to do something, but like it is daunting like how bad things are at the government. Like the government will destroy our country. Like right now we are on a boat and it is heading towards an iceberg and it is the government that's driving it there. And like if we
And
do
they
not do
know.
anything, we will hit it. We will hit it, right?
And they know the iceberg's there.
Yeah, and they know the iceberg's there and we're all
But
talking
everybody's
about it.
yeah,
You can
everybody's
see
up
it.
on they're on the top deck,
Yeah,
still
and we're
throwing a party.
arguing.
No, no, no,
Right,
they're still
yes.
throwing a party. They're having a
Oh
good
yeah, yes.
time.
Yes,
And
they
everybody's
are.
like, there's an iceberg. And
Yeah.
it's what, 5 years away.
It's
But
a ways away, and I'm probably gonna get off on a. I'm gonna get off on
yeah.
a stop here, so I don't need to. I don't. I'll let the next guy turn the ship away, right? Yes, exactly.
Oh,
And this
jeez.
Doge guy is bugging the crap out of me. We need to throw him
It's
off
like,
the boat.
hey, if we just moved 1% over the next 5 years, like maybe. Of course, that's not enough, right? It
Well,
would have to be a
I
lot
wouldn't
more
even
than
say
that.
we're.
So,
Yeah, I'm saying we're probably a little closer. We're probably like not. We're like we need to move. Actually, we need to turn that wheel pretty hard right now
like
because we've been
right
waiting a long
now.
time. Yeah, and we need to turn it now. And everyone's like, ah, yeah. So
But the party's nice. The party's nice
the
right
party is
now.
fun.
I'm
It is
comfortable.
fun.
I'm in a hot tub on the upper deck. I'm not gonna
But like,
die.
I mean, like I know we talked about this last time, but like, there was a stat that someone threw out, and it was interesting. And they were saying like, so the Department of Education, and its budget was 280 or 260, I can't remember, but it was 20% was so 60 billion, so 280 billion, and then like 20% was 60 billion, I think. Um, and that's how much it was like 20, 22 or something like that. Just those a fraction is actually going to direct payments to the schools, like going into like kids' pockets is like, or teachers or
Sure.
whatever you call it to direct. And they were saying like this other amount is going to whatever, bureaucracy, NGOs, just all this other stuff, right? And it's like getting someone's getting rich, right? And someone's getting a bunch of money. And like more than likely it might have some small benefit back to children, but like back to actually education, but like probably a lot is not, right? And this is the party, right? This is like someone's wife formed an
Hmm.
NGO and is getting rich and like and that is the problem, right? This is the problem is like and no one wants to stop that party because it is a fun party, right? And it's like, ooh, that what? You want to stop it? No, 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 no. You jerk, get out. And like and I'm gonna point the finger, and I think it's a lot of Democrat. This Democrat driven like Washington is predominantly Democratic, and I think there's a lot that the party's being driven by that, and like, I think Republicans have blood on their hands.
Oh, they're
Like
just as
anyone who's in
complicit.
Congress has blood on their hands
Oh yeah,
because they
they're
can't
all
pass a
complicit.
yeah. And I actually think that Trump being sort of a outsider and hated by like a lot of people is actually his benefit, right? And that like he can, if anyone could change it, because you're like, well, it's like Obama comes in and he's like nothing changes, right? You know, and Biden, nothing changes, right? Bush, nothing changes, right? So it's like, and they're all sort of they were all like anointed by the press, so as whereas like Trump's never been legitimate, and I think that's actually good. And like, there's actually a chance he can make a change, which is why I think he'll be assassinated, right? Like,
Uh,
this will not be allowed. The
right.
party cannot stop, right? You know what I mean?
Interesting. See, and I see it differently because I see Trump as not necessarily interested in like keeping the party going or not keeping the party going. He
But
wants to move the party to
personal
his
gain.
boat. Yeah, he wants to
Right,
move the
right.
party to his
Yeah,
boat, right?
yeah.
So
Hmm.
right now it's the Democrats and Republicans boat. And he's
Hmm.
like, no, my personal yacht is right there. And
Yeah.
I want to take as much of the money and party off
Well,
of this boat and put it on my
yeah.
boat.
He came
And
out and
then
he's
I'm
like,
going to
I am
go,
the captain. I am the captain now.
yes.
I am the captain. And everyone's like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just wants to take the party somewhere else, right?
Well, I think my opinion is he saw a ton of corruption and he saw it as an opportunity. And I think
Absolutely.
he wasn't wrong,
Yep.
right? And I think because people are like, no, yeah, there is a lot of corruption. And he's like, and I'm going to do stuff. But like when the very beginning he jumps in and is like, oh, and Eric Adams, we need this guy on board. And you're just like, oh, no, 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 right? And you're like, okay, you're interested in getting rid of a certain type of corruption, but you're okay with other
His own
stuff, right?
corruption.
Stuff that'll
Yeah,
benefit you, right? And
absolutely.
that's a problem, but like, but at the same time, the alternative is we smash into the iceberg, right? And it's just like I'm willing to take a chance on anything getting us out of that, but like because it's a chance, but like yeah, otherwise we're completely screwed. And like it's like I'm almost like
Oh.
okay, he benefits himself a little, right? I might be okay with that if he can actually pull this off.
If he could move us away from the iceberg, fine.
Right.
But
And
I
he
don't
gets
I don't think he cares. Yeah.
$50 billion, right? But
But he saves the country?
right.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
My sense is he's going to strip the Titanic clean, watch it slam into the iceberg, and he's going to be living it up
And
in
celebrate.
Switzerland.
Right, right. Well, I mean, there'll be bigger problems if the Titan if the Titanic hits you know, the ship actually hits the thing. But there was a great SNL of Ross Perot, and he was like, Ross Perot was running for president, right? And it was like,
Mhm.
all right, I got this deal, America. He's like, I'm gonna take a 2% cut of everything that I save in the economy, and da da da. And it was like a big joke, but I'm like. I'd actually be okay with that, right? I'm like, if you could really grow the economy, 8% or whatever, and you took a small cut,
Mhm.
I'd be fine with that, right? I mean, that is actually how capitalist like society works, right? It's not
Yeah.
altruistic, it's self-serving, but yet you usually come out with a greater value than but and there's corruption, plenty of corruption, right? It's just like
Mhm.
but there you can usually come out with a pretty good product. Anyway, so yeah, it's an interesting idea. I have this like slight optimism with Trump in an otherwise like we are completely screwed mindset. Like there's no way out of this. Like Trump, Doge, possible, maybe, right? But like,
Like, like a 1% chance. You're
right,
okay with a
yeah,
1%
kind of,
chance because the
kind
alternative is
of
no
zero.
chance.
Right. Absolutely. Imminent destruction of the American
Way
dollar
of
as a
life
reserve
and yeah.
currency, which would be a huge, like we would no longer be like this massive first world country, right? We would have big problems. We talked about this like a little while, like UK is no longer like a premier country anymore. It's sort of like degrading fast. We would basically go through that cycle, probably really fast. But anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Fun. Fun time.
Um, awesome. Let's end on a more positive note. Uh, where is Josh? What is he actually doing instead of coming on the podcast tonight? So second
Completely.
guesses. Yeah, second guesses. We got to do it one more time. So what do you
He's
think?
watching the live stream of this.
He's actually doing the live stream. Let me see. I mean we guessed that you were actually helping with Doge. I don't think Josh is doing that, right? I don't know. Josh wouldn't do that. But what would he be doing instead of coming on the show?
Bodyguard
So,
from
ooh,
no.
bodyguard for Trump's not bad. He could be out shooting guns. That's a very real possibility. Josh could be out with his AR-15, with his son Gunner shooting guns. That's a
Yeah,
possibility.
it was inevitable. I mean, my
Yes,
son up.
I know. You name your son Gunner, gotta have guns. Uh, we gotta come up with something funnier than that, though, Tom. Like, what is Josh actually doing right now instead of coming on the show? I have it.
Um,
I have it. Um, so he said it was his wife, right? He's doing tea with stuffed animals with his wife and his daughter. The two daughters.
oh,
He's
he's
got,
having a
yeah.
tea party.
He's having a tea party. Yeah.
Yeah,
So his wife was
whatever.
like, sorry, your
Yeah,
daughters are insisting you're doing a tea party.
they're
He
doing
is
a tea party.
100% doing a
Fucko.
tea party with his two daughters and their stuffed animals and his wife.
Yeah,
That's what
and
Josh is doing right now.
he's in a dress.
Yes, yes. I think that is my mental image for where Josh is right
What a
now, and
good
that's making
father.
me laugh. Yes. I love
Yeah.
it. And I'm not even like insulting him for that, right? I'm very proud of him. Like, you go, Josh. You do that. That's great. That does take priority over this podcast. I like that. That's a good mental picture. And I'm assuming because most of our listeners are actually Josh's friends, so I hope they're all going to give him a really hard time about that right now. I think that's awesome. You should all of Josh's friends who are listening to this, text him right now. And you should like get what's the like emoji creation app or whatever. You need to send pictures of Josh in a dress to Josh right now. That would be awesome.
Good. And maybe that'll be part of our thumbnail, our YouTube thumbnail.
Oh yeah, we'll try and do that. Josh in a dress while the stock market crashes and burns. Love it. Awesome.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Catch you next time.
Josh, we may not always agree when it comes to politics, even though we're trying, but there is one thing we agree on. There is only one way to clean up after going to the bathroom, and that's with a Lux bidet.
I've been a proud owner of a Lux bidet for years. I have literally owned a Lux Neo 320 since 2013. That's the warm water model. Talk about happy, fun, poopy time. When I leave the bathroom, I know I'm clean and ready to talk politics in a civilized manner.
Exactly. Using a toilet without a bidet is about as uncivilized as it gets. Civil conversations demand civil hygiene practices.
And that is why our listeners should get themselves a Lux bidet.
And just to be clear, Lux is not supporting one side or the other in this podcast. They support civil conversations and clean butts.
Listeners can get their own Lux bidet with 10% off by ordering at luxbidet.com and using our promo code FCBG10, Finding Common Battlegrounds 10.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. The music is by Ben Sound. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and not those of their employers. For more information or more episodes, you can find us at findingcommonbattlegrounds.com.